Hi Charlie, welcome to the 82nd week of my video polling experiment where I break down and analyze the LinkedIn poll that I posted last week and the close this morning. Now last week's question was written in response to the worsening economic situation. Now as you know, the markets were pretty wild last Thursday and Friday. The S&P 500 and the Russell 2000 almost declined into bear market territory. I think they just barely scratched bear market territory. Of course they rebounded the following few days of the next week, but even before this volatility on Thursday and Friday, there were rumblings that the economy wasn't doing so well, the stock market was shaky at best, so I decided to ask the question, what do you think about the current economic climate? There were 4 answer choices: love it, it's okay, meh, and hate it. Now, perhaps because this poll was really speaking to what people were feeling about the state of the economy and the stock market, this poll got 110 votes. Now this is fantastic performance considering that my average performance is about 80 to 85 votes per poll, and I consider any poll that got 100 or more votes to be a quote-unquote gold standard poll. So I'm thrilled to see that there was so much participation in this poll, even if the distribution of this poll is concerning with regards to how the economy and stock market are doing and will do in the near future. 7% of these 110 voters said they love the current economic climate. 5% of them said the current economic climate is okay. 37% said the current economic climate is meh. That was my response. I didn't obviously want to be too negative about it because I felt like that would be kind of a bad sign for the universe to a certain extent. And a slight majority, 51% of my 110 voters, said that they hated the current economic climate. So that basically means that only 12% of my voters had a positive or somewhat positive opinion of the current economic climate, while a whopping 88% of them had a somewhat or very negative opinion of the current economic climate. So that doesn't necessarily bode well for consumer sentiment, for the kind of positivity that tends to lead to stock market increases. But as always, we're trying to remain calm and collected, trying to understand the situation, trying to react as rationally as possible and not just throw all of our stock market gains away just because of a little volatility. So anyway, onto some statistics about the current economic climate. Goldman Sachs increased the odds of a recession this year to 35%. Now, this figure was outputted, I believe, early last week, which means that in the week since, Goldman Sachs could obviously have raised its predicted odds of a recession due to the stock market volatility and slight downturn on Thursday and Friday. This 35% recession probability is an upgrade from Goldman Sachs' previous 20% probability of a recession prediction. Goldman Sachs believes that the S&P 500 will decline 5.6% to 5,300 in 3 months. Now, I do believe the S&P 500 has declined substantially more than 5.6%, but I'm not entirely sure what that exact number is. But they were certainly right to project a decline. But again, this is a 3-month projection, so it is very possible that the stock market could make a full or partial recovery by then. GDP is projected to grow by 1% by the end of this year. That's versus 2.8% GDP growth in 2024. So again, not a good sign. Seems like the economy is slowing down a bit. And the unemployment rate is expected to rise from 4.1% to 4.5% this year. It doesn't seem that significant, but that increased unemployment is likely a sign that there aren't as many jobs out there, the economic growth is slowing, and other not very great things. In 2025, so far, American personal income has increased by 0.8%, which that is a good sign, but is also not a very significant increase. International trade in the USA decreased by $131.45 billion in January of 2025. Now, this was before the entire tariff situation and Liberation Day in early April, but it is just a sign that things are not necessarily going so well in terms of the domestic American economy and also the international economy. So anyway, Charlie, thank you for listening to my little spiel about the current economic climate. And before I go, I would like to show you my poll as it appears on LinkedIn, just to prove that I'm not making this distribution up, because if I was making it, I would try to make the distribution a little bit more positive with regards to what people think about the current economic climate. Here is the poll as it appears on LinkedIn. As you can see, it got 110 votes. Hate it, with regards to the current economic climate, was the most popular answer choice, getting 51% of the votes. And I think this is the first time that one of these polls where I ask what people think of a topic on a scale of love it to hate it, where hate it has been the most popular answer choice, or even a majority of the answer choices. So that's definitely a first that I can remember so far, and I don't know if that's a good sign. Anyway, Charlie, thank you so much for listening to my little spiel about the economy. Again, nothing that I state here is financial advice or investing advice. Please consult a financial professional if you would like investing advice or financial management advice in general. I'm just reciting some statistics I saw on the internet and expressing my opinion about my perspective on current market events. So anyway, Charlie, thank you for listening, and stay tuned for my 83rd poll analysis tomorrow. Thank you for listening, and goodbye.